Well, one thing's for sure, folks. February, at least lately, has lived up to his reputation of being brrr here in Kentucky. Now, what I decided to do here is to instead post separate videos about Speed Week, rather. I decided just to do a brief recap video in only one package. Before I do that, don't forget, hit the subscribe button, like, comment down below, so forth. So with that out of the way, let's get started. Now the Thursday night dual race began when something interesting took place. That Rothschild St. Chase Elliott had a couple of issues prior to the start of the race, but ultimately both were repaired and they were able to start the dual race. And despite a wreck that took out several drivers during the dual race, ultimately Bubba Wallace ended up winning the first dual race of the night. Now in the second dual race, things got a bit more controversial. Due to a last lap crash, NASCAR threw the caution out, and although it appeared that Eric Jones got to the line first, the moment when the caution was pressed, more or less, they ruled Austin Cindric as the race winner of the duels. And as we're going to see as we're going to discuss over the course of the Speed Weeks, NASCAR is going to be inconsistent with the calls over the course of Speed Weeks. I'll get to why shortly. Probably the most controversial moment, though, however, was during the truck race on Friday. Despite it being entertaining and fun to watch, or hear, rather, because I was working, ultimately another last lap crash ended on a caution, giving Parker Kligerman the win. Or at least so we thought. As it turns out, his truck failed post-race inspection, and the win was taken away from him and given to Corey Heim. Now, the team did file an appeal Saturday, and that appeal is scheduled to be heard as soon as tomorrow. So, hopefully, because I don't think the win should be taken away from Parker, because as far as I know, it had nothing to do with why the truck was too low and whatnot. Even though I do agree that some sort of penalty should be enforced, like fine or a point penalty at least, but let the win stand. But we'll have to see how the appeals panel will side with NASCAR or with its team. As for Saturday's Xfinity Series race, while there were some minor issues, more or less, with the CW broadcast, overall, for their first solo outing, they did a great job. Adam Alexander, Parker Kligerman, and Jake Murray were great in the booth. And I do like the fact that they kept Kim and Dylan, two of the best reporters on NBC, as part of this year's CW broadcast. And Carla made a good first impression for me, considering that prior to this, I had no idea who she was. I had to look up her information, and at least on the surface, she does at least have some understanding of how the sport works. So we'll give the CW broadcast debut overall a solid good review of saying 8 out of 10 for the CW debut in the broadcast booth and whatnot. Ultimately, another last lap crash at the Austin Hill basically dominated the race. There, he was forced to withdraw he was forced to call it DNF due to, I think it was oil pump. I think due to mechanical issues, and his teammate Jesse Love ultimately got his second career win in the series, both coming at super speedway races. Now, Sunday at the Daytona 500, yes, the President of the United States was there, but rain did delay the race for a few hours. But they did ultimately get the race in. Usual Daytona shenanigans of wrecks and whatnot did occur still, including one on the last lap, but here's the twist. NASCAR did not throw the caution, and ultimately let the leaders race back to the start-finish line, and ultimately William Byron became the first driver since Denny Hamlin back in 2019 and 2020 to win back-to-back Daytona 500s. Now Ryan Preece, who flipped back in 2023 at the summer race down there, flipped again, this time from the front of the car. Fortunately, he was all right, but to an extent, I do have to agree with what he said, that something had to be changed in order to try to prevent this from happening again next time they go to Daytona or Talladega later this year, for that matter. Because when it comes to Atlanta this weekend, it's too little, too late to do something. If it's just a temporary patch-up job in NASCAR. Now, obviously, NASCAR can't keep the cars on the ground all the time, but still, they need to do something by the time they get to Talladega to try to prevent this from happening again. Or at least the possibility of it happening again occur. Because eventually, you might get to the point that a driver might not be so lucky to walk away from one of these flips. And what then? But I was impressed with Justin Allgaier with the Jury Motorsports, ended up 9th in his third Daytona 500 appearance. And Jimmy Johnson finally ended up with a top 5 finish for the first time since becoming an owner of Legacy Motor Club. Now, granted, in Jimmy's case, it's a part-time schedule, and Allgaier was a one-off. But hopefully, with Legacy's case, they can take what they learned at Daytona and try to use it for Atlanta and Talladega later in this half of the season, and then hopefully can duplicate that success next time they're at Daytona for the regular season finale. Now, all that being said and done, there is one other thing I did want to talk about right quick, or rather 2 more things I want to talk about right quick that occurred during speed weeks. One, that is that Pit Bull is no longer involved with Trackhouse Racing, effective immediately, as he and Justin Marks parted ways. Now, how or why they reached that decision, they didn't say, but overall, hopefully, that, with the Pit Bull leaving, Trackhouse could be more competitive this year. Because, let's face it, outside of Suarez in Atlanta and Ross Chastain in Kansas, especially with Suarez, they were barely competing all of last season. But I'm glad at least that Chastain got a win during the playoffs at Kansas. So hopefully, this won't affect the performance this year. And it seems that they may get a fourth manufacturer to join NASCAR after all. I know, same old song and dance with that, but apparently the fourth manufacturer is not for the Cup Series yet, but rather the Truck Series, with the possibility of Dodge returning to the Truck Series as soon as next year. Now, obviously, it's not been confirmed yet on A, if this is true or not, and B, which teams would make the switch to Dodge and whatnot. But I'm going to take a guess at this. If this is true, the Dodge Ram could come back to NASCAR. I don't see it returning for 2026, but 27 at the earliest, because it will take time for them to build new trucks, to build trucks and whatnot. And this wasn't the first time that Dodge re-entered the sport via the Truck Series before going to Cup, because they were one of the original manufacturers of the Truck Series way back when. So it's not surprising that they want to take the similar route again. But personally, I think it's best for Dodge to at least wait a couple of years and then return instead of trying to rush and return. Because if they rush and return, they may not want to go back to the Cup Series. And the same thing is true with any manufacturer that wants to enter the sport. Take your time. No need to rush. And yes, one more thing I forgot to mention. I don't know if I already brought it up or not, but as a reminder, NASCAR did file an appeal regarding the lawsuit side of things again. And that appeal will be heard, as a reminder, in May. Now, right now, things aren't going NASCAR's way when it comes to the legal action side of things, and I hope it stays that way. Even though I think ultimately NASCAR will still prevail to an extent, what I've been told, what I've heard is that if NASCAR loses the case, they may just cancel the charters altogether. Meaning that beginning in 2026, for example, no one will be guaranteed a spot anymore. So how are you going to resolve that little issue? And more importantly, will the teams be able to cooperate with NASCAR in that regard? Because we were back in 2004 in the fall Atlanta race, Bill Davis, AMB2, didn't qualify for one of the races there, and yet two unaffiliated teams did, and Valvoline and Caterpillar as well complained about it, and it said just how the top 35 rule was created in the first place. Because I can imagine that sponsors won't be too happy if the chart system goes away either. The only ones that will be happy will be NASCAR. But we'll have to wait and see how this plays out going forward. But anyways, on to Atlanta this weekend. I'll be back soon, hopefully, with my predictions for Atlanta. And don't forget, oh, one more thing. Apparently, the Truck Series broadcast will be similar to the Xfinity Series booth they had last year, when you had a different commentary each week or two. In this case, joining Jimmy in the booth for Atlanta for the truck race, you have Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano. Thought I'd bring that up right quick as well, because apparently that's how it's going to be for the Truck Series this season. Even though Michael Waltrip apparently will still be involved in the qualifying broadcast at least. And probably the same thing with practice. Although personally, in that regard, I think they should probably just kept filling in the booth. And I don't know about Michael per se. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to keep, unless this was a decision by Fox to scale back Phil's presence, or this is his doing. Who knows? But I think it's best for it to be more consistent in terms of the broadcast booth and the Truck Series side of things. Same thing with NASCAR, where it's consistent with the calls. Do you want the leaders to race back to start finish line on the last lap, or not? Do you want the cars on the last lap or not? You can't have it both ways, you know. Now, the spin prior to the wreck, okay, that's a different story altogether. But here's the thing. Driver safety should come first above anything. And it just seems like NASCAR is trying to force, more or less, the police offense ahead of driver safety. And I don't know if that's essentially a good idea in that regard. Gotta find the middle ground when it comes to policing the fans and driver safety. Because if you don't, what happens next time if a driver gets injured to a point that has to go to the hospital? Or worse. So if I'm NASCAR, you have to ask yourself that question. I'm not saying the fans shouldn't have a total input either, because they should. But what I'm saying is that they shouldn't dictate how the sport should be run, or try to force their opinion on NASCAR. Even if the France family does decide to share, or rather sell half of the controlling interest of the sport, like that has been rumored lately, if someone does take over the sport, you got a sanctioning body for a reason. Let them make the calls, instead of having the fans dictate for you on the calls, because the fans aren't always 100% right. Same thing with the sanctioning body for that matter, but still, to be honest, I'd rather have a wrong call made by an official than having the fans telling the officials to make that call, but it turns out that the fan was in the wrong. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say on all this. So let me know your comments down below. And I'll see all of you next time. Bye.